everyone, it's Friday, TGIF. Okay, so Y&R was really good today. We got to see a bunch of Phyllis's best moments, Michelle Stafford, 30 years on Y&R. So they did something cool. They had a little bit of what's going on now, and then they went back into the moments and stuff. So it was cool. I'd say as far as the moments go, the clips, I'd say they picked the best ones. I really believe that. Okay, so for today's storyline, um, there's still now Daniel is under a bit of suspicion, um, maybe linked to Heather's unaliving. Although, if you watch the show at all, you know that he's not guilty in the least, and it's Sharon who um, did everything and now is looking for someone else to pin all the suspicion on for the police so they'll stop bothering her. Now, the thing I liked about today and Phyllis is um, I know I give Phyllis a lot of grief. I know I do. But in this case, she's absolutely right about everything. Absolutely. Question is anyone going to listen to Phyllis? And my concern is no one will because given her history with not only Sharon herself, but, her crazy antics in the past. So I'm afraid that their opinion of her on her past deeds is going to make them not make her opinion credible in their eyes. That's what I believe. Um, but she was spot on with everything. She said, "Well, who would have the most motive to do this?" And then she went back in her memory when Sharon said, if you don't keep a handle on Lucy, I'm about ready to lose my patience. And had this big grand moment, and it was great. Sharon Case really shined, but it also shows how she did have a bone to pick with Heather and Daniel because of the way they were raising Lucy, right? Okay, so yeah, but okay, so put that aside. Okay. We don't know how that's going to happen and whatever. Although we might have some clues, but I don't like to go on clues until I see what they do with it. Because you can have all the clues in the world, but if you don't use them, it's kind of like you have nothing. Alright. So they go back into the clips of Michelle Stafford. First, they start with how, and this was one of the moments I wasn't sure if they were going to go here or not, but they talked about how Phyllis kind of uh, slept with Nick when he was still married. So Sharon has a confrontation with her and says, "So who gave you the right to sleep with my husband?" And I'm like, all right. And then they go back into her history with Michael Damian as Danny Romalotti and all that. And I mean, it's cool, but then it's not because he kept her away from her own son, and that's never cool. And then in true soap opera fashion, um, apparently they told Michael Gradzade back in the day when he was around 17, 16, 17, to act like he didn't know who his mother was. So imagine yourself, although this may be a bit of a stretch, but I don't think as much as most people would think, okay? Imagine you don't know who your mother is, really, and you're 17 years old, and this woman comes into your life and says, you don't know her from anybody, right? And you're trying to connect the dots, and she says, well, yeah, part of that's right. And then it gets a little creepy ish. Like, you're making me feel weird. This is coming from Daniel. And then Phyllis has to fess up quick about, well, I'm your mother. Like, and it went through more than I just said. And then they had the oh my God moment, you know. And ever since then, they've been bonded. But it was weird. Um, okay. So then they went on to her relationship with Jack. And I say relationship because the way they coupled them up, you would think that they're headed for marriage like tomorrow because they were together for at least 8 to 10 years that I can recall. And I'm not joking. I mean, years. So I'm like, okay, they're getting married. But somehow they never got married. I don't know what. I don't know why. Maybe because even though Jack said, I want you to be whoever you are with me, like, don't hide anything, the more Phyllis did and the more Phyllis said to him, he didn't like her because she didn't fit some mold that he wanted for his wife to be. Like one of those guys, you know what I mean? Like he says to you, be yourself, but then you're yourself, and then he's like, well, I don't really like this and that. When they get nitpicky, that's what it felt like to me. But they always had a strong bond, like a friendship, you know? So then, so then they talked about the moment where she found out where she was pregnant with Nick's baby. Although at the time she didn't know it was Nick's, so she was going through an agonizing moment where she's pregnant and she doesn't know who the father is. Who's the daddy. We've seen that storyline a million times. But in this case, I kind of feel bad for her because, well, not bad, but like I understand what she's going through because on the one hand, you don't know if the partner you're supposed to be with wants any more children, and the other partner, who's possible father, is still married to another woman, and they may be on the rocks, but you know that they're always trying to work it out. So where do you fit in? That kind of thing. So that whole dynamic creates a whole nother dilemma that no one really goes through unless you just happen to be in that situation. But I mean, the chances of that are like 1 in 100. I don't know, like astronomical. So I can't really relate on that level, but I can relate on certain levels. Um, yeah. So then they talked about Summer's birth a little bit, and then they kind of ended it with everyone going back home, but everyone apparently was wired, like couldn't sleep. So then the spoilers are a little bit of, I guess Daniel is gonna have a call with his dad at some point, and something else is gonna happen. But see, I don't really put much weight into the spoilers because, like I said before, I don't know if they give it to you and they say coming next week. So you don't know if it's going to happen Monday or sometime in the middle of the week or later in the week. I don't know. And I say this because I have seen it where they'll give you a spoiler and you're waiting for the spoiler and it doesn't come till Friday. And you're like, really? Really? Okay. Yeah, okay. That's it. I covered it all. All right, bye guys. Um, all the bold and I'm gonna talk about all the other stuff after that. Okay, so it's gonna come really quick, and I'll explain why in my next video. Okay. All right, or maybe the next one. All right, bye guys.